The spaceport glimmered like a jewel against the black backdrop of the station's orbit. Lights reflected off the polished metal floors, and humans hurried along, carrying data pads, luggage, and urgent messages. Spaceships of all shapes and sizes docked at various platforms, their engines still humming faintly in the background. It was a place where cultures met, where politics often collided with ambition, and where the unexpected could happen at any moment. Captain Elias Trent strode through the main concourse, his boots making firm clicks against the floor. His eyes scanned the crowd, not out of curiosity, but necessity. He had been briefed. An alien diplomat, Lyra, was arriving today. She was no ordinary envoy. She was famous across multiple star systems for her charm, her intelligence, and her ability to influence others without even trying. And she was coming here to Earth to meet him. Elias had faced dangerous situations before. He had negotiated with pirates, defended colonies under attack, and even brokered peace between two species that had been at war for decades. But the idea of an alien diplomat designed to charm didn't fill him with confidence. He trusted in logic, analysis, and preparation, but charm was unpredictable. The announcement came over the intercom. Arrival of Lyra, diplomat of the Arathian Council, Platform 7. All authorized personnel may proceed. Security drones hovered silently, scanning the crowd. Platform 7 was a long, glass-lined corridor. Outside, Earth's blue curve stretched across the horizon, interrupted by the dark shadow of the station itself. Then she appeared. Lyra stepped off the shuttle with the poise of someone who knew she belonged anywhere in the universe. She was tall, her movements smooth and confident, like water flowing over rocks. Her uniform was elegant, alien in design but impeccable in appearance. Her eyes met Elias' from across the corridor, and for a moment the station seemed to fade around them. Elias reminded himself to breathe. She smiled, a small, knowing smile, and nodded a polite greeting. It was not just a smile, it was a calculated, magnetic expression that drew attention and respect. Many humans had warned him about her reputation. Lyra could charm with a glance, disarm with words, and make difficult negotiations appear effortless. "Captain Trent, I presume?" Her voice was melodic, clear, and commanding at the same time. "Yes," Elias said, keeping his tone neutral. "Welcome to Earth Station Horizon. I hope your journey was comfortable." Elias was surprised. Most diplomats needed days, sometimes weeks, to learn Earth protocols. She seemed to understand them instinctively. "Your species is persistent," she said thoughtfully, "and intelligent. I can see why the Council is interested in forming closer ties. And sometimes, survival depends on seeing the potential in others, even when they seem very different." Lyra nodded at them politely, yet her attention returned to Elias. "I understand your role is to guide me through Earth's diplomatic customs," she said. "Is that correct?" "Then we can begin immediately." Elias observed everything, noting subtle reactions in humans, admiration, curiosity, even envy. He had to remind himself constantly, she was not here to make friends. She was here to negotiate a treaty that could change the balance of power between humans and the Arathian Council. During a break, Elias led her to a viewing deck overlooking the planet below. Earth's continents glimmered with city lights, and the ocean reflected the sun's faint rays. "Beautiful," Lyra said softly, leaning on the railing. "Your world, it has so much potential. Your species continues to thrive despite limitations, conflicts, and danger. That resilience, it is admirable. I was briefed about humans, about their traits and potential, but experiencing it firsthand is different. More engaging, more compelling." There was a subtle tension in her voice, something between professional curiosity and something else. He pushed the thought aside. Focus on the mission, he reminded himself. The afternoon brought them to the main negotiation hall. Representatives from multiple human nations were present, along with station officials. Lyra's presence dominated the room. She spoke with authority, her words carefully chosen, her gestures precise. She outlined her government's intentions clearly, emphasizing cooperation, technological exchange, and mutual benefit. Elias noted how humans responded. Some were wary, questioning her motives, while others were clearly impressed. Lyra handled each situation with grace, countering doubts without appearing confrontational. During a brief recess, Elias walked with her toward the station's observation balcony. "You handle this well," he said, a hint of admiration in his voice. "Many humans would be overwhelmed, intimidated. You learn quickly that emotions can be useful, but they should not control decisions." Elias noticed the subtle change but did not comment. Diplomacy required composure, and he intended to maintain it. A sudden alert sounded across the station. Red lights flashed briefly. Security personnel moved quickly, scanning the area. A minor systems malfunction had occurred, a power surge in one of the docking bays. It was not dangerous, but it required immediate attention. "Captain Trent," Lyra said, her voice crisp again, "shall we see how your humans handle unexpected challenges?" She leaned slightly closer to Elias and whispered, "Your people, they adapt quickly, they improvise, it is remarkable." She seemed fascinated by the intricacies, by the coordination, by the human capability to respond and recover. There was admiration in her expression, a recognition that humans were more than just a species to negotiate with. They were capable, intelligent, and resilient. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the station in a glow of artificial light and planetary reflection, the first day of Lyra's mission on Earth had concluded. Dinner was arranged, a formal event with representatives from human governments and station officials. Lyra continued to impress, blending curiosity, diplomacy, and charm seamlessly. Later, as they returned to the private quarters assigned to her, Elias paused at the door. "Day 1 complete. You handled yourself well. But it can also be valuable. I think we will learn from each other." And yet, he was impressed by her skill, her intellect, and the undeniable charisma she wielded effortlessly. But he also sensed that her human experience, the empathy, the warmth, the chaos, was affecting her in ways she did not yet understand. The first day had been about introductions, negotiations, and first impressions, but beneath the surface, something had shifted. Lyra's mission was clear: secure the treaty, charm the humans, and return to her council with success. But for the first time, she questioned whether she was entirely in control of her own path. Elias, meanwhile, saw what few others did: not just a diplomat, but an alien capable of admiration, curiosity, and maybe more. Humans had faced countless challenges, but this was a new one. One that required patience, understanding, and courage. And if he had learned anything from humanity, it was this: they could adapt to anything, even an alien diplomat who was supposed to be untouchable. As the station lights dimmed for the night and the stars stretched infinitely beyond the glass walls, both human and alien prepared for the days to come. The mission had begun, but the story was only just starting. And in that quiet orbit above Earth, a connection unexpected, subtle, and potentially transformative was already forming. The morning on Earth Station horizon began with a quiet hum. The vast station, orbiting silently above the planet, reflected the soft light of the rising sun over Earth's curve. Humans and aliens alike moved along the corridors, preparing for a new day of diplomacy, science, and commerce. Captain Elias Trent arrived early at the diplomatic wing, his mind already running through the day's schedule. Lyra had requested an early meeting. She was eager to continue discussions, but Elias sensed there was more behind her request. She had spent the previous evening observing, learning, and perhaps unknowingly adjusting to human behavior. Elias had watched her closely, noticing subtle moments. The way she tilted her head to catch small expressions, the way her eyes lingered slightly longer on people's gestures, and the small pauses that suggested contemplation beyond protocol. When he arrived at her quarters, he found her standing by the observation window. The planet below seemed alive with motion, cities lighting up, rivers shimmering, clouds drifting lazily. Lyra's posture was relaxed, but there was tension in her shoulders. "Good morning," Elias said, entering the room. "Good morning, Captain," Lyra replied. Her voice carried a hint of fatigue, though her composure remained intact. "I slept well, though. Earth's time cycle is unusual. Your species seems to operate on many levels of energy and rest simultaneously." "You mean adjusting to new circumstances, yes." The compliment was subtle but meaningful. He had always known humans were capable, but hearing it acknowledged by an advanced alien diplomat was unusual. Their morning meeting focused on treaty specifics. The Arathian Council sought access to Earth's research data on energy and environmental sustainability while promising advanced technological support in exchange. The negotiations were precise and careful. Lyra presented points clearly, her voice even, her expressions controlled. But Elias noticed small moments of hesitation, brief flickers of uncertainty in her eyes whenever she considered human reactions. "You are very thorough," Elias said during a pause. "Your people rely heavily on protocol, I assume." "The Council expects precision, efficiency, and predictable outcomes. Deviations are discouraged, And yet humans are not predictable. That is both fascinating and challenging. Your confidence, it is unusual. You do not fear being challenged. Perhaps that is why your species continues to thrive in a universe that can be unforgiving. Lyra observed quietly, noting details, the way humans gestured, how they maintained eye contact, and how subtly they communicated without words. You study them closely, Elias remarked. I must, she replied. Understanding behavior is essential for effective negotiation, and humans, your species communicates in ways that are not immediately obvious. Your emotions, intentions, and reasoning often overlap. It is complex. It is impressive. Lyra listened intently, her expression softening occasionally, revealing glimpses of curiosity and admiration that were unusual for someone of her training. During lunch, they were joined by a few human representatives. Lyra engaged with them politely, asking thoughtful questions and listening carefully. She laughed at appropriate moments and offered insights that reflected both intelligence and empathy. Elias noticed the subtle shift. She was not only performing diplomacy, but also absorbing human social dynamics on a deeper level. After the meal, a sudden alert interrupted the peaceful routine. A minor emergency had been reported in one of the science labs, a containment breach of experimental energy samples. It was not life-threatening, but it required immediate attention. Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly, and she turned to Elias. Shall we see how your humans manage under pressure? Technicians were already containing the situation, but small mistakes could escalate if not corrected. Lyra observed closely, noting how humans collaborated, communicated, and adapted to unexpected conditions. She leaned slightly closer to Elias and whispered, Your people, they are quick thinkers. They improvise and coordinate under stress. It is remarkable. That's what survival teaches. You cannot rely solely on training. You must think, adapt, and act. Elias could feel it, the subtle tension in her posture, the slight softening of her expressions, and the way her attention lingered on human capability rather than protocol. The containment was successfully managed, and the lab returned to normal operations. Lyra exhaled quietly, a rare moment of visible relief. Your species, you never cease to surprise me. I expected controlled, rigid responses. Instead, you respond with intelligence and creativity. Observation, interaction, learning, it feels different. Lyra was trained for precision, yet human unpredictability. Her ability to affect emotions, provoke thought, and challenge assumptions was testing her limits. The afternoon brought more formal negotiations. Lyra's charm and intellect shone, but Elias noticed small signs of fatigue. A subtle hesitation in gestures, slight pauses in speech, and a quiet self-reflection between interactions. She was processing more than just treaty points. She was observing humans, evaluating responses, and perhaps, unintentionally, allowing herself to be influenced by their resilience and ingenuity. During a short break, they found a quiet observation lounge overlooking the docking bays. Several shuttles were coming and going, and the hum of energy fields filled the space. Lyra leaned against the railing, her gaze thoughtful. Captain, tell me something, she said quietly. How do humans manage attachment, bonds, emotional connections? It is not weakness. It is resilience, empathy, and creativity combined. Understanding each other, across cultures, species, or worlds, that is what diplomacy is really about. Not just agreements on paper, but understanding intentions, values, and limits. Humans, we excel at that when we choose to. It is fascinating. As the day ended, Lyra and Elias walked toward her quarters. Silence stretched between them, comfortable yet charged with subtle tension. Finally, she spoke. Captain, I did not expect this level of engagement. I was sent to charm, to negotiate, and to secure an agreement. But experiencing humans firsthand is more complex than I imagined. More compelling. About your species, and perhaps about myself. Lyra, despite her training and reputation, had begun to experience the subtleties of human nature in a way she had not anticipated. As he left, Elias realized that the mission, while diplomatic on the surface, was already transforming. It was no longer just about treaties or charm. It was about understanding, connection, and the unpredictable potential of two very different species meeting on equal terms. And above Earth, orbiting silently in the cold vacuum of space, both human and alien prepared for the days ahead, knowing that the first steps of engagement often led to consequences none could fully predict. The story of diplomacy, discovery, and unexpected connection had begun. The morning sun reflected off the curved glass of Earth Station horizon, casting long streaks of light across the corridors. Humans and aliens moved through the station with purpose, yet an undercurrent of tension ran beneath the ordinary rhythm. Something was brewing, though no one could yet name it. Captain Elias Trent was reviewing security reports when a sudden alert lit the screens. Multiple sensor readings had detected a malfunction in one of the orbital docking bays, a minor explosion of energy interference in a cargo module. Nothing life-threatening, but any mistake in a docking area could quickly escalate into serious danger. "Captain Trent," a voice called over the comm, "we've got an anomaly in Dock 12. Automated systems are not responding correctly." Her expression was composed, professional, but her eyes betrayed curiosity and an undercurrent of concern. She had quickly adapted to observing humans, but her natural desire to assess and analyze made crises especially compelling. "An unexpected challenge," she said, her voice calm but tinged with excitement. "Shall we see how your humans manage under real pressure?" "You might be surprised. Follow me." Lyra's attention was sharp, scanning each reading with practiced precision, but occasionally her gaze shifted to the humans themselves, how they moved, coordinated, and reacted. By the time they arrived, the scene was tense. Sparks flickered along a damaged docking module, technicians moved quickly to contain the energy interference, and security officers maintained clear zones. The situation required coordination, analysis, and quick action. Lyra observed closely. "Your people, they improvise under pressure. They coordinate without direct commands. That is remarkable." "It is not instinct alone. It is observation, analysis, and teamwork." She leaned toward Elias and whispered, "That response, it is more effective than our standard protocols. Your people, they respond intuitively." "Keep the surge contained," Elias instructed the team. "Watch the auxiliary systems, be ready for any escalation." Even under unfamiliar circumstances, they find solutions quickly. Intuition and reasoning combined, it is impressive. "My mission is clear: charm, negotiate, and report. But witnessing humans in action, resolving danger intuitively, is unsettling. I did not anticipate this level of competence." "It seems your species has perfected the combination." "Humans, when faced with unpredictability, danger, or crisis, how do you maintain composure? How do you balance reason and emotion?" "Humans learn to act despite fear, to adapt despite chaos. That is what makes them resilient. Emotion informs reasoning, but it does not dominate it. The balance is delicate, but it is what makes humans strong." She listened attentively, recording observations in subtle ways, analyzing patterns of behavior and reasoning. During a break, Lyra approached Elias privately. "Captain, there is something I must confess," she said, her voice low and measured. "I have experienced something unusual. Your presence, proximity, it affects me in ways I did not anticipate. Physiologically, emotionally, even mentally." He did not react with alarm, only observation. "It is unusual, yes, but not necessarily dangerous. Your species' biology is advanced. Perhaps this is a form of adaptation or bonding mechanism. Any deviation could jeopardize the treaty, my career, even trust between our species." She had been trained to maintain composure in any situation, but humans had introduced variables her protocols could not predict. Elias' calm rationality, combined with human adaptability, offered a framework for managing the unexpected. Later, a briefing was scheduled with human representatives regarding ongoing projects and potential treaty benefits. Lyra's engagement was meticulous. She asked precise questions, clarified objectives, and offered suggestions that were practical yet innovative. Elias noticed the subtle signs of admiration. She respected human intelligence not as a novelty, but as a genuine capability. During a pause, a young technician accidentally triggered a minor alarm. Lyra reacted instantly, analyzing the situation and calmly suggesting corrections. Elias observed silently, impressed by her ability to combine alien precision with human improvisation. Yet beneath her control, there was subtle strain, a recognition that humans could influence her in ways no protocol could anticipate. After the briefing, Elias guided her toward a quiet lounge with a view of the station's docking bays. The stars stretched infinitely beyond the glass walls, and the hum of distant engines filled the air. "Captain," Lyra began carefully, I must admit your species is compelling in more ways than I expected, not only in capability, but in reasoning, adaptability, and emotional balance. It is different from anything I have studied, and yet I find myself affected in ways I did not anticipate. Your species, presence, your behavior, it triggers responses that I cannot fully control. I must manage them carefully lest they interfere with duty. Recognizing the influence is the first step in managing it. Discipline and awareness can balance even the strongest reactions. You are experiencing something unprecedented, and handling it with clarity is commendable. Ilias noted the subtle interplay, how humans inspired respect not only through achievement but through creativity, resilience, and moral strength. As the evening concluded, Lyra and Ilias returned to the observation deck. Silence stretched between them, comfortable yet charged with unspoken recognition. The planet below glowed with life, cities shimmering and oceans reflecting light like mirrors. "Captain," Lyra said softly, "today has been enlightening. Humans are not predictable, not easily categorized, and yet remarkably capable. I must confess, I underestimated the extent of your species' resilience. Experience reveals depth, capability, and the unexpected strength humans possess. That is all anyone can ask. Humans survive and thrive through clarity of thought, courage, and cooperation. You have already witnessed it." The first signs of connection, understanding, and mutual respect had emerged, laying the foundation for challenges, discoveries, and an unforeseen journey that would test both species in ways neither could predict. The story of diplomacy, collaboration, and unexpected influence was far from over. The morning began quietly, but the calm was deceptive. Earth Station Horizon was a hub of diplomacy, science, and observation, but beneath the polished surfaces and organized schedules, tensions simmered. Lyra, the Arathian diplomat, had begun to notice subtle changes in herself, physiological responses she had not anticipated. Her presence among humans, especially near Captain Ilias Trent, seemed to trigger reactions that even her advanced biology could not entirely suppress. She had spent the night analyzing the data from the previous day, consulting her personal logs and physiological monitors. Everything indicated an anomaly. Her body was reacting to proximity with a human in ways that were biologically significant. She had always been trained to suppress or manage such responses, but these were different. They were persistent, subtle, and increasingly difficult to ignore. Ilias arrived at the observation deck at the appointed hour, carrying a datapad filled with the morning briefings. His expression was calm, as always, but his eyes were sharp and attentive. He had noticed the subtle changes in Lyra over the past 2 days, the pauses, the contemplative looks, and the faint moments of distraction, and he was determined to remain supportive. "Good morning," Ilias said, stepping beside her. "How are you feeling today?" "My biological responses, they continue. I believe they may be irreversible without intervention. It is affecting my hormonal balance, my neurological feedback, and potentially, though I am monitoring, my reproductive functions. We are capable of adaptation and problem-solving under pressure. That helps in anticipating issues before they escalate." She addressed each issue with precision, clarity, and charm, yet there were subtle moments when her attention drifted to Ilias. Her awareness of his presence, combined with her unusual physiological responses, made her cautious. Ilias observed quietly, noting her meticulous approach. She was brilliant, elegant, and strategic, but the human adaptability around her, the quick decisions, rapid problem-solving, and cooperative mindset, was challenging her assumptions. She had been trained to manage responses, but humans were unpredictable, dynamic, and remarkably resilient. During a break, Ilias escorted Lyra to a quiet observation lounge overlooking the docking bays. The hum of engines and the glimmer of starfields provided a moment of calm amid the structured chaos of diplomacy. "Captain," Lyra began carefully, "I must report, my condition continues to develop. It is subtle but persistent. I believe that proximity to you has triggered a biological response that may be significant. My mission does not account for this variable. Acknowledging it is the first step in management. We can monitor, adapt, and adjust. Humans excel in handling unpredictability. Your experience may be unprecedented, but it can be managed logically. I cannot allow them to jeopardize my mission or the treaty." A human delegation questioned the speed of technological exchange in the treaty. There was concern about the safety of implementing alien energy systems without adequate testing. The discussion threatened to derail hours of careful negotiation. Lyra responded gracefully, explaining protocols, safety measures, and incremental implementation strategies. Yet there were small signs of tension in her posture, subtle moments when her physiological response intensified, her pulse slightly elevated, her breathing more conscious. Elias observed without interrupting, knowing she needed space to assert control. After the session, Elias guided her to a private analysis room. "Your people would intervene directly, I assume?" he asked. "Yes," Lyra admitted. "In my home system, we would enforce compliance. Here, humans require explanation, reasoning, and collaboration. I am learning patience and cooperation in new ways." Observation confirms that. Your species, you balance emotion and reason. You survive through understanding, adaptation, and perseverance. It is remarkable. It was not critical, but it required careful coordination to prevent disruption. Lyra observed the technicians, analyzing the sequence of decisions and the human approach to problem-solving. She noticed a pattern. Humans often took unexpected steps, improvising based on intuition as well as analysis. The anomaly was corrected quickly, and normal function resumed. "Your species' capacity for rapid adaptation is impressive," Lyra admitted quietly. "Even under pressure, you respond logically and effectively. It is instructive. And yet, the proximity continues to affect me. Your presence, your behavior, it triggers responses I cannot fully suppress. I must manage them carefully. I must not allow biology to override duty." That is all anyone can ask. She was a diplomat at the peak of her abilities, yet she was learning from humans in ways her training had not anticipated. By evening, a formal reception was held in honor of the Arathian delegation. Humans and aliens mingled, exchanging ideas, pleasantries, and observations. Lyra's charm was effortless. She engaged thoughtfully, listened carefully, and offered insights that impressed both humans and her own delegation. During a quiet moment, Elias found her near the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass walls, and the station hummed with life. "Captain," Lyra said softly, "I am learning more than I expected. My mission, my protocols, they did not account for the influence of human interaction. Your species, resilience, adaptability, and intellect, it is affecting me in ways I cannot fully explain. You are learning to do the same. We survive by acting despite challenges, thinking clearly, and cooperating. You are demonstrating the same strength, even under unusual circumstances." "It is fascinating." The stars stretched infinitely beyond the station, and the hum of distant engines filled the air. Silence lingered, comfortable yet charged with subtle recognition of mutual respect and understanding. "Captain," Lyra said finally, "today has been challenging, instructive, and enlightening. Humans are not predictable, yet your species demonstrates resilience, intelligence, and moral clarity. It is admirable. Your species, it challenges assumptions, inspires observation, and demands adaptation. And it affects me in ways that I must manage carefully. You will succeed." The story of diplomacy, discovery, and unforeseen connection was growing in complexity, laying the foundation for challenges, revelations, and decisions that neither species could yet fully predict. The future, filled with uncertainty, adaptation, and resilience, awaited them. And both human and alien were ready to face it together, learning from one another, and discovering strengths that would shape not only the treaty, but the connection between two species in ways far beyond protocol or expectation. The station was quiet in the early hours of the morning, the soft hum of engines echoing through corridors lined with polished metal and glass. Captain Elias Trent moved with purpose, reviewing the day's schedule. Today would be different. Today, diplomacy, adaptation, and mutual understanding would reach a point that could define the future of human and Arathian relations. Lyra was already at the observation deck, her silhouette framed against the vast expanse of space. Her posture was composed, elegant, yet there was a subtle tension in her shoulders. The past days had been instructive, testing, and at times unexpectedly challenging. She had learned much about humans, and perhaps more about herself than her mission briefing had ever prepared her for. "Good morning, Captain," she said, her voice calm but carrying an undercurrent of anticipation. "Good morning," Elias replied. "Are you ready for today?" Understanding is the first step toward cooperation, and cooperation is the foundation of progress. She no longer relied solely on charm or protocol. She engaged with clarity, listening, observing, and responding thoughtfully to unexpected questions. Her respect for human reasoning was evident, and humans, in turn, respected her intelligence and adaptability. During the discussions, a complex issue arose. Some human representatives expressed concern over the long-term implementation of Arathian technology. While the Council offered advanced energy systems, humans were cautious about integrating unfamiliar systems without thorough testing. Tensions rose slightly, and murmurs filled the room. Lyra responded calmly. "I understand your caution. Testing and incremental implementation are wise. Our technology can be introduced gradually, with monitoring systems in place. Cooperation and observation will ensure mutual safety and efficiency." "Your approach balances caution and progress," he said quietly, leaning slightly closer. "That is the way humans operate as well: observation, adaptation, and careful reasoning. Your species combines intelligence, creativity, and moral clarity in ways that are instructive." Lyra listened attentively, asking insightful questions and offering suggestions that respected human innovation while aligning with Arathian protocols. During a mid-afternoon break, Elias escorted Lyra to a quiet section of the station. The observation deck provided a view of Earth below, a swirling mass of blue oceans, green continents, and glimmering city lights. "Captain," Lyra began, her voice thoughtful, "I must admit my biological responses continue. Your proximity, presence, and behavior, they influence my physiological state in ways I did not anticipate. I have monitored it closely. It may be irreversible without intervention." Awareness and observation allow management. Humans face unpredictable challenges every day. Adaptation and discipline are tools we rely on. You are applying the same principles. It is compelling. It was not catastrophic, but it required immediate coordination and problem-solving. Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly as she assessed the situation. "Shall we observe how humans handle this?" she asked, almost rhetorically. Elias gave a small smile. "We won't just observe. We'll act and adapt." "Their efficiency, their adaptability, it is remarkable," Lyra said quietly. "Even under unexpected conditions, humans respond logically and effectively." By the end of the day, the anomaly was resolved without incident. The research vessel docked safely, and the station returned to normal operations. Lyra turned to Elias, her expression contemplative. "Captain," she said, "your species continues to challenge assumptions. Observation has revealed intelligence, creativity, and resilience far beyond what I was prepared for. And yet, it is your moral strength, your empathy, and your adaptability that is truly impressive. You have also demonstrated remarkable discipline in adapting to these new circumstances yourself. My mission remains clear, yet my perspective has expanded." Humans, in turn, respected her insight, discipline, and ability to navigate both alien and human protocols with precision. After the ceremony, Elias escorted Lyra to the observation deck one last time. Silence stretched between them, filled with mutual understanding and subtle acknowledgement of the days they had shared. "Captain," Lyra said softly, "my mission is complete, and yet, I find that my understanding of humans has deepened in ways that protocol never intended. Your species' capacity for intelligence, moral clarity, and resilience, it is exceptional. You have learned from humans, and humans have learned from you. That is the essence of cooperation. Your presence has influenced me beyond mission parameters. Observation, awareness, adaptation. I have mastered them in the context of this mission. And I have learned that strength can be measured not only in skill or knowledge, but in moral clarity, resilience, and cooperation. You have seen it and you have adapted. That is the essence of success." Lyra had shown discipline, intelligence, and the ability to learn from observation. Together, they had navigated challenges that neither species could have managed alone. The days ahead promised further collaboration, innovation, and exploration. Lyra's mission would continue, but now it was informed by first-hand experience of human resilience, moral strength, and ingenuity. Elias reflected on the success of the treaty, the skills of his fellow humans, and the remarkable adaptability that had made the outcome possible. Above Earth, orbiting silently in the infinite expanse of space, both human and alien prepared for a future of cooperation, understanding, and mutual respect. Challenges would come, but they had demonstrated that through observation, reasoning, and adaptation, they could navigate the unpredictable. And as the stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass walls of the observation deck, both Elias and Lyra understood that the journey was far from over. Humans had proven their value not through dominance or force, but through intelligence, ingenuity, and moral resilience. Lyra had discovered not only the strengths of another species, but also the power of adaptation, awareness, and disciplined response. The mission had been successful. The treaty was secured. But beyond the protocols, beyond the negotiations, a deeper understanding had emerged. A recognition that humanity's ingenuity and resilience could inspire even the most advanced species, and that cooperation and observation could overcome challenges far greater than any individual or protocol could foresee. And so, orbiting silently above Earth, the two species took the first steps toward a future defined not only by diplomacy, but by mutual respect, intelligence, and the quiet, enduring strength of humanity. The story had reached its conclusion, but the journey of discovery, collaboration, and adaptation would continue. Humans had proven their value in the galaxy not through force, but through courage, ingenuity, and the ability to face challenges with clarity, creativity, and moral integrity. And for Lyra, the experience had transformed her understanding of her mission, her species, and herself, leaving a lasting impression that would guide future endeavors and redefine the boundaries of interstellar cooperation.